particularly the right ear. So if you stay tuned, you'll see the right ear was a bit more of a struggle. And we're just using a microsuction probe here. It's called a Zollner suction probe. There's many different types of suction probes that can be used. Some of them are called the Fraser, the McGill suction tube. But typically for microsuction of the ear, of earwax, we use the Zollner suction probe. It's around 8.5 centimetres in length, from the handle that is, and around 3.5 centimetres from the tip of the suction probe. There's a bend, and that bend is around 30 degrees, which correlates actually to the upwards trajectory and incline of the ear canal. With the wax, it's a bit stodgy, so it's hard to get a suction grip. So you can see I've just gone in with a St. Bart's ear hook, and I went across the posterior canal wall, so the back part of the ear canal, and then drew the hook inwards, managed to latch on some of the wax and keratin by rotating the tip of the hook into the core and slowly bringing it out. And just going back in now with the Zollner suction probe. So the top part of the ear canal is quite clear, but this plug of wax skin, it's running along the base of the ear canal. And here I'm just trying to elevate it, lift it off the canal wall where it's attached. And there's a skin adhesion. You'll see the skin adhesion there. It's enveloped the plug of wax, but it's also adhered itself onto the ear canal wall. And it's quite a sticky skin adhesion, this. And you can see it's quite stretchy, the wax and keratin as well as I'm suctioning. So I've just put some a squirt of olive oil spray into the ear. This is designed just to help me get more of a suction grip, so it changes the consistency of this plug of keratin and wax from a stodgy consistency to a bit where I can, a bit firmer really, where I can get a substantive suction grip with the suction probe. And I'm just wriggling this upwards and downwards, just trying to mobilise it. Now, because this patient's ear is quite twisty and there's a narrowing deeper in the ear, this plug has got trapped. So you can see here, the endoscope's going directly into the ear canal, but the ear canal actually veers off to the left quite sharply around the second bend. And it just gives you an idea of the anatomy of this patient, and they are prone to getting wax buildup. They actually wear hearing aids as well, and they attended today, and the hearing aids were whistling, feedbacking, and that's because if you've got a lot of wax in the ear, the hearing aids amplify sound into the ear, and that sound bounces and reflects back out of the ear, off the wax, and that amplified sound re-enters the hearing aid microphone, which means the hearing aid will re-amplify it, and again that re-amplified sound will hit the wax, bounce back out, re-enter the hearing aid microphone, and the hearing aid will again re-amplify that same sound, and we get a feedback loop, and that causes the hearing aid to squeal, and the hearing aid was really, really whistling. Because the patient's hearing was that bad, they weren't themselves able to hear this acoustic feedback. This was another term given to it, but I could hear it from almost outside the clinic door. It was quite audible, and the patient did advise that their wife wasn't too pleased with them, and they should have had this removed a while back. Also, because of this plug of wax, the hearing aid wasn't sitting in situ correctly. There was that much wax, as you can see. The hearing aid, he wasn't able to fully push it in, because if he did, it was painful because it was touching the wax, and the wax was getting compressed deeper into the ear against the eardrum. So we removed half of this plug. It is quite tricky, and as I said, the right is even more complex, so do stay tuned. I'm slowly just trying to wriggle this out of the ear, but it is lodged very deep in the ear. But we're making good progress. You can see it is slowly but surely creeping forwards, and now I'm just trying to rotate the wax out of the ear, so take it because it's quite a bendy canal. We're just trying to navigate it around the bend. So there's still another plug there, and this main plug of wax was attached to this inner core of the wax, and that's why it was hard to remove, because this is quite lodged. And in the end, it was that lodged that that earlier piece of wax that I removed detached itself from this plug. Again, I'm just trying to manipulate it out of the ear across the bends. So it's just trapped at the first bend and second gen juncture. And you'll see the patient's eardrum. healthy enough. Slightly red, it's just because it was so impacted, but that's just due to the wax. There's no infection there. Now this is the right ear. It looked quite innocuous initially. I thought this would be pretty straightforward, but this patient's right ear was much more narrow. The wax plug was more impacted. There's more of a twisty, bendy ear canal as well. So I started off with the Zollner suction probe. I can only just insert the suction probe into the ear canal. You can see there's very little room for manoeuvre there. I'm just trying to lift this upwards, trying to wriggle it out of the ear. So I'm just resting the endoscope on the tragal cartilage. So the tragal cartilage, so we're not actually in the ear with the endoscope at the moment. The tragal cartilage is the small triangular piece of cartilage just outside the entrance of your ear. Some people can have tragal piercings there. So I'm just angling the endoscope towards the entrance of the ear and resting it gently against the tragal notch. Sorry, against the tragus. The tragal notch is just below it. Below the tragus cartilage, you'll see there's a little, so it's almost at the bottom of your ear. On the outside is a little a rim there, and we call that the intertragal notch. So we've got a piece of wax out there. I'm just trying to bring this down from the roof of the ear canal. I'm going to revert to an ear hook in a moment. So I'm just stretching the ear open. Now the endoscope is in the ear. We're just into the entrance of the ear, and I'm using the endoscope to stretch the ear open to the left, so I can then insert the hook. Now, the hook did embed itself, but again, a bit more medially, deeper in the ear. The wax is lodged, and you'll see once I remove it, it was really impacted against the eardrum. The eardrum was quite red afterwards. And the patient did find this ear slightly uncomfortable, just because the surface of the wax was quite rough, and as I was bringing it forward, it was rubbing against the ear canal wall. So the hook, you can see I'm trying to get it as deep as possible. We're going to be really gentle, and I'm embedding the hook, the tip into the wax and bringing it forwards. It is slightly dicing the wax as well, just cutting through it slightly. Just put some oil in here just to suction some of the remnants, because the hook did dissect the plug of wax into smaller pieces. I'm just trying to suction these smaller pieces out of the ear now. The ear canal is virtually shut. So a lot of elderly patients, not all, but a few, the cartilage weakens. So the outer third of the ear canal is made up of cartilage, the inner 2/3 is made up of bone. The cartilaginous portion, as we get older, it's just like the tip of our nose, it can weaken, and then gravity takes its toll. It can cause it to collapse and come downwards. So quite often the posterior canal wall, the back part, because it extends a bit further without any support compared to the anterior, the front part of the ear canal wall, it can collapse across, which closes the entrance, and that is another potential reason as to why elderly patients with narrow ears get wax buildup, because the wax is no longer then able to naturally migrate out of the ear because the entrance is shut. So this is literally just at the entrance, and we're just trying to squeeze this through. But once we enter the ear, it does widen. So again, not only the patient got a narrow entrance, the ear canal is quite bendy, and it also protrudes back outwards. So we got the plug of wax that I'm trying to remove from the entrance is significantly larger than the entrance, which can cause a bit of a dilemma. So again, there's a little gap at the top, and then I'm going to go back in with the hook. I'm just trying to roll this forwards now. I'm just trying to dissect it in the middle. Bring this forward, so I got a little chunk out there. And there's this last remaining couple of plugs. So again, I'm just really stretching the ear open here with the endoscope. You can see how much wider it is now. And I'm just embedding the tip of the hook into the core. We've got to be gentle. This is when I train the clear wax delegates, and I'm saying it because I've made mistakes. You learn from your own mistakes, and in the past I have accidentally kind of embedded the tip of the hook too deep into the core of the wax, and as I was bringing the hook out, I grazed the bottom of the ear canal. So you're just going to be careful you don't over embed the hook, because it can be uncomfortable for the patient. Again, so this piece, this is just hanging out the ear. This is in the what we call the cavum concha. So near the entrance of the ear, the external part of the ear, you've got a bowl, we call it the concha. And the bit near the entrance we call the cavum concha. And the little hollow piece of cartilage on the outside part of your ear goes a bit more upwards. That's called the symbiconcha. And this wax, I managed to get it out of the ear, and it was just dropped into the bowl of the ear, so the cavum concha. Again, I'm just trying to wriggle this piece out. Almost there, but I think, again, memory serves me correct, I'm going to resort to the ear hook in a moment. Again, I got another piece out, and because the entrance is so narrow, that piece of wax has separated itself in order to be extracted from the main core, which is just visible now. So I'm just inserting the hook horizontally, and you can see it's just rolling it forward. I'm using the tip just to bring it forwards. And I'm going to try and get in behind, and I'm stabbing it into the core. And as I'm extracting it, I'm trying to make sure the hook is vertical and in line with the entrance. So I'm trying to bring the hook straight back out through the narrow entrance without making contact with the canal wall. Again, I'm just trying to go a bit deeper now with the hook. I believe I'm behind it now. And I'm going to drag this large piece of wax, I think, not on this attempt, but the next attempt in one piece, hopefully. So again, I'm pushing the cartilage up a bit to get access. I'm just manipulating this forwards. And you can see this last piece was quite dark, so it's been there for a while, it's oxidized. Now this patient's eardrum's nice and, it's visible. A bit red because the wax was impacted against it, but at the top there's a bit of an attic retraction, so they have got a bit